Welcome to the I Love CVille Show. Thank you kindly for joining us. We're live across every social media platform known to mankind. Our studio in downtown Charlottesville, so some of the news of late has not only resonated with us as a company and as stakeholders in this community, but frankly, because we're in downtown Charlottesville 60 to 80 hours a week. I have a wonderful wife, 2 young children that I love dearly, and I've been thinking about safety more than ever before. A lot we're going to cover on today's program. We thank our friends at the Clifton in Keswick for being a part of the show. We enjoy partnering with the Clifton in Keswick. I personally enjoy happy hour there or date night. I think you would as well. It's memorable. The staff is experienced, seasoned, and talented. The chef has tremendous skills. Weddings, events, corporate retreats, happy hour, dinner, the Clifton in Keswick. Give it a try. I think you're going to find it very memorable and special. Here are today's headlines, and we'll weave Judah Wickhauer into the program in about 4 minutes. By now, you know there was a shootout in downtown Belmont that left one person dead, another person injured. That shootout outside Fitzgerald Tire, ironically and sadly, right next to the I Love Charlottesville a lot sign that's on the wall of Fitzgerald Tire. Allegedly a semi-automatic gun utilized in the shootout took place in broad daylight, right after church was let out, just before 2 p.m. The shootout scared the bejeebus out of the neighborhood. Of course it would. Frankly, it scared the bejeebus out of this entire community. Mockingbird Restaurant and the local restaurant, sister restaurants owned by Adam Frazier, they closed last night, undoubtedly in response to police yellow tape in a crime scene right in front of their establishments. We're going to give you reaction to this Belmont gunfight, and we will ask this very sincere and succinct question. What the hell is going on in Charlottesville? What the hell is going on in this area? Why is crime peaking? And from a perception standpoint, at an all-time high. Why is the crime infiltrating dining and shopping and entertainment districts? Why do we have OK Corral-style gunfights outside the Omnia Hotel and now in downtown Belmont? What is causing this? Why does gun violence seem to be at an all-time high? What are we going to do about it to solve it? Those questions and more, with answers from us on today's show. We'll talk about the pie chest closing down. 8 years of proudly serving this community. The pie chest is literally what? A 30-second walk from here, if that?
Yeah.
Less than 30 seconds I can get to the pie chest from the I Love CVille studio. You think that's fair?
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
Keith Smith of Real Talk goes there for his coffee 3 days a week. Mm-hmm. 8 years of proudly serving this community. They've made it through so many things. COVID, a pandemic, a Nazi rally, Heather Heyer's death on 4th Street, pivot, and more pivots. Talk about the Pie Chest closing its doors on Pie Day of this year. We will chatter a question that John Blair, a friend of the program, the king of knowledge, asked me on Facebook on Friday afternoon, and I want Judah Wickhauer's take. You know, I didn't have an answer to this right away, and it's rare that something when it comes to Charlottesville I don't have an answer to right away. He asked a straightforward question. What is the downtown mall's brand right now? Is it dining? Is it entertainment? Is it shopping? Is it family? Is it music? What is the brand for the downtown mall right now? We'll see if we can figure out that answer today on the program. By now, you also know a 6-year-old shot a teacher in Newport News. God, it's crazy to say that. A 6-year-old shot a teacher in Newport News, Virginia. And you know what? That teacher grew up in Ruckersville. She's from Ruckersville. That teacher went to James Madison University. That teacher's name is Abby Zerner. Maybe you can find some photos of her from her Facebook page that you can put up. If you check my Facebook history in the search bar, you'll see her name there, ABBYZW.
Zerner.
Yeah. Let's humanize, localize, and personalize Abby Zerner.
Zerner.
A 6-year-old shooting a teacher in a public school. Brennan Armstrong is transferred to NC State. You're talking about one of the greatest quarterbacks, statistically speaking, in University of Virginia history. Brennan Armstrong has more records than I can rattle off for you. He is now an NC State Wolfpack football player. And ironically, Brennan Armstrong and the NC State Wolfpack will travel to Charlottesville and Scott Stadium to play Tony Elliott and the Cavaliers this coming football season. I said last week that Brennan Armstrong would likely transfer to NC State and follow Robert Anae, his former offensive coordinator. He did just that. And this is undoubtedly a blemish for the University of Virginia football program and second-year head coach Tony Elliott. I wish Brennan Armstrong the best of luck, and I have no ill feelings or anger or resentment to him. He graduated from the University of Virginia. He had a terrible year last year, and he has one more season to try to improve his NFL draft stock, and that's exactly what he's trying to do. He's looking out for himself as he's trying to build a football career in the National Football League, as opposed to a football career on Friday nights as a coach of a high school football program. We'll talk Brennan Armstrong, who holds the following records, and they are more than I can actually list off for you. The single-game passing record for UVA, 554 yards against UNC. The season passing record in 2021, he threw for nearly 4,500 yards. He's got the single-game total offense record, the career passing yards record for the University of Virginia, season total offense record for UVA, career total offense for UVA, single-game passing touchdowns record for UVA, season passing touchdowns for UVA, career passing touchdowns for UVA, consecutive games with passing touchdowns record for UVA, 200-yard career passing games for UVA, 300-yard career passing yards for UVA, 400-yard career passing games for UVA, season pass completions record for UVA, season passing attempts for UVA, career passing attempts for UVA, and single-game touchdown responsible for UVA, where you had 6 against BYU in 2021 and a shootout. The Wahoos lost at BYU. From a statistical standpoint, Brennan Armstrong, statistical standpoint, the greatest quarterback in University of Virginia history. Did I say he was the greatest overall quarterback in UVA history? No. I said from a statistical standpoint, he's the greatest. And now he travels to Scott Stadium this coming year to face second-year head coach Tony Elliott. I also want to highlight the WillowTree deal. We have more information on this billion with a B, $1 billion deal Tobias Dangle has indicated more jobs will be coming to Charlottesville. Remember, we had concern with this billion-dollar deal that the Charlottesville location, the Charlottesville headquarters, would be eradicated, would be shrunk, would be minimized in some capacity. Well, Tobias Dangle, the chief executive officer, says, nope, we're going to bring more people here. I'll give you some reaction on that, including what that does for affordability and the housing stock in the Charlottesville area. And lastly, there's a new bakery coming to Crozet. Two of our headlines today involve a bakery. Two different ones, but same kind of business. One of them in downtown Charlottesville and the other one in Crozet, Virginia. You talk about difficult businesses. Food and beverage, restaurants, extremely difficult. Bakery businesses, about as difficult as you're going to get. You show up to work before the sun rises. It is a brutal, brutal, brutal business with long, long, long hours. The lead of today's program undoubtedly is the shootout in Belmont with one person dead and one injured. Judah, you're 90 seconds away from offering your perspective on today's program. Look, I found out about this shootout like many of you guys through the grapevine. A friend of mine working at one of the restaurants in downtown Belmont. He texts me just after 2 o'clock and said, Jerry, there was legitimately a gunfight outside our restaurant about 9 minutes ago. That's how I found out. I said, what do you mean there's a gunfight in Belmont on a Sunday afternoon, right after church is let out, outside of Fitzgerald Tire, next to the I Love Charlottesville a lot sign? Are you serious? And he said, yup. And then I said, who was involved with the shootout? He said, a lot of young people and what undoubtedly appeared to be a semi-automatic gun. He said, we all heard it in the restaurant and we all sprinted out and we all realized that someone was dead. We are 9 days into a new year, and gun violence has again ravaged our community. The gun violence and the crime is now starting to infiltrate aspects of our community that otherwise we always thought would be safe and excellent from a quality of life standpoint. Whether we want to admit this or not, and this is an awkward conversation to have, when murder and gun violence infiltrates neighborhoods and shopping and dining and entertainment districts, the community pays closer attention than if that same crime and gun violence was left in pockets of the community that were notorious for crime. Over the last 4 or 5 months, we've seen a gunfight outside the Omni Hotel, a $500 a night hotel. We've seen gun violence on the downtown mall outside a bar that led to someone's murder and someone's death. And now gunfight in downtown Belmont. I'm scratching my head just like you. And here are some of the questions I'm asking. Is this gang related? Is this drug related? Is this human trafficking related? Are the folks involved in these gunfights from Charlottesville? Are they Central Virginians? Are they from outside the community? Is there a turf war going on in Central Virginia? Is this violence attributable to a police department that has 1/3 of the department currently vacant. Why are we not solving or preventing these crimes? Why are these crimes infiltrating neighborhoods and shopping and dining districts? Why are these crimes ballsy and brazen and now happening in broad daylight on Sunday after church lets out? What do we do to stop it and to solve them and to keep them from continuing? How do these alleged shooters and murderers get access to semi-automatic guns? I know you have these questions as well. What do we do to keep this stuff from happening? Are we safe? Is my wife safe? Are my boys, my kids safe? Is Judah Wickower safe? Am I safe? Are you safe? What's the impact this gun violence will have on quality of life? What's the impact this gun violence will have on the local economy? What's the impact this gun violence will have on real estate? What's the impact this gun violence will have on Tavola, the local, Bell, Mockingbird, Mas Tapas, the downtown mall? I don't have those answers. I do know that the outlook and the outcome are not promising. I do know that we need to be honest with ourselves and realize that we have a gang problem. And what we have monikered ourselves a world-class city. What we have been bestowed by numerous media outlets as one of the best cities to live in the country. I'm frustrated. I'm frustrated with a lot of aspects of what's happening. I'm frustrated with murder. I'm frustrated it's happening in a town I love. I'm frustrated that it's impacting quality of life and how people choose to look at our community. I'm frustrated that folks outside our community are saying, what the hell's happening in Charlottesville? I'm frustrated with the attention it's getting from local media. I'm frustrated with the defund the police movement and the fact that it continues in this community. I'm frustrated that people don't feel safe. I used to live at 208 Little Graves, a tiny home in Belmont that was maybe a 60-second walk from Fitzgerald Tire. When I lived at 208 Little Graves with 3 roommates, we routinely would walk down Little Graves, take a left down that dirt alley, the pothole-ridden dirt alley at the end of Little Graves, and we'd head to places like La Tasa. La Tasa's currently now Bell. We'd walk to the local. Mockingbird wasn't even built yet. We'd head to Mas Tapas. we'd head to Melissa Easter's brother's barbecue joint. And we would patronize these businesses because they were right around the corner from our rental. I'm curious of how many people in Belmont feel safe this morning. I'm curious of how many people in Belmont are looking over their shoulder this morning while walking their dogs, heading to their cars, or just taking a stroll around the block. Frankly, I'm curious to see how this is going to impact the business in downtown Belmont and the property values of a Tony neighborhood that has escalated in value. I'd like to weave Judah Wickhauer into the mix on a two-shot. He's the director of this fine and fair talk show. You're getting out of church on Sunday, and the buzz is palpable and tangible. Murder outside Fitzgerald Tire, and not much information released via the police to the local media.
Yeah.
We don't have motive.
Well,
we don't have names. We don't have, are they local or not?
I mean, I did see that they were of Hispanic. They seemed to be Hispanic, from what I.
What did you gather that on a couple of comments on Reddit by an anonymous handle that happened to offer some perspective? It was something like Dude Cook or somebody. I saw the comments. That's by no means factual. That's an anonymous comment on an anonymous platform.
All right.
I saw the same comment and read the thread inside and out. I back the blue, you know I do. But we don't have a lot of information from the police yet. The local media, as we've highlighted on this program, is young, underpaid, and does not have the institutional memory to do investigative reporting. Do you not have a boatload of questions? I certainly do. This is where you talk.
Sure, yeah. I mean, more now. But tell us what you think.
I just did for the last 28 minutes. What's on your mind?
I mean, it certainly seems to be a problem, but I think it's a problem everywhere nowadays. It's a shame, whoever it is. I guess we won't go into that.
I just don't want to jump to the conclusions and base the foundation of this talk show on one anonymous poster on Reddit.
Okay.
I don't want to call them... I don't want to paint the victims or the perpetrators with a brush when all we have is anonymous commenters on a messaging platform that routinely is incorrect.
Okay.
I'm scared, man. And I don't use that lightly because I understand how many people listen and watch this show. But I'm scared. I'm scared that this happened at daytime hours.
Yeah.
I'm scared this happened in a neighborhood. I mean, good night. How many houses are around Fitzgerald Tire where a stray bullet could go through a window and hit a child or a mom or a dad?
Yeah. I mean, that's, with all the gun violence we have seen recently, we mostly hear about the ones that result in someone's death. And sadly, that doesn't take into account all of the, all the gunshots that people have been hearing recently, and where are all those bullets ending up?
Right. Bob Yarborough, the king of Redfield's watching the program, a man of common sense and reason and level-headedness, Bob Yarborough. He says, welcome to the job, new police chief. He should be all in front of the cameras today, right? Chief Michael Kachis. And he says, for the record, Bob Yarborough says, I still feel safe here. I'm not minimizing the issue and the challenges, but I feel safe in Charlottesville. Michael Kachis, you're the police chief of Charlottesville, the newly minted police chief. And Michael Kachis, I welcome you on this program. I've been in correspondence with a couple of your peers to see if we can coordinate an interview with you, the newly minted police chief. But Bob Yarborough makes a fantastic point. If you are the newly minted police chief in Charlottesville, you should be in front of every camera, on every microphone, on every media medium possible, offering who, what, when, where, why.
Or at the very least, reassurance.
Just like Jim Ryan and Tim Longo did with the shooting outside the parking garage on the grounds of the University of Virginia that left 3 football players dead. Jim Ryan and Tim Longo and the University of Virginia brass got in front of this story and they owned it. Jim Ryan and UVA's brass said we could have handled things differently. Michael Kachis, the new police chief of Charlottesville City, it's time for you to do the same. You've been hired to take a department that is 1/3 empty, and you've been hired to revitalize the department, to get more people in the department, and to make human connection with the community. Chief of Police Kachis, it is your time to now rise to the occasion. This is what you've been hired to do. If you do not get in front of this story, it's going to snowball, and you're going to have an even worse PR crisis on your hands. Jason Burke in Los Angeles says, where was the police presence? I've said routinely on this program, and you and I differ slightly on this. If we have a fully staffed police department, we have more shoe leather on the streets and more officers on the beat. And while having shoe leather on the streets and officers on the beat will not keep all crime from happening, it certainly will give the perception that people are watching and people care about the community and the safety of us citizens and taxpayers. A perfect example is what happened under Mayor Giuliani's regime in Manhattan. Giuliani cleaned up the broken windows, and he got the New York Police Department all over the Big Apple. And he managed the battle of perception. Michael Kachis, you have a similar plight in front of you. You need to manage the battle of perception and reassure taxpayers and citizens that we can feel safe in this community. And whether we want to admit this or not, and this is a very tough topic here, when murder and gun violence and crime of this magnitude starts creeping in to the downtown mall or to downtown Belmont, University of Virginia, the UVA corner, there was a shooting outside Boylan Heights about a month ago, less than a month ago. When it starts creeping to bars on the mall and in the shadow of $500 a night hotels, that has an impact that is orders of magnitude greater than if this violence was compartmentalized to pockets of the community notorious for crime like this. And
Certainly
people don't want to
becoming more
admit this.
visible.
What's that?
Certainly becoming more visible to people that otherwise would, you're right, ignore it.
That's the point. And it's not fair. It's not fair. Undoubtedly, it's stereotypical. It's sad, but it's human. When the crime and the violence goes to financial districts and shopping districts and dining districts and entertainment districts and districts and areas that are wealthy, the violence becomes, from a perception standpoint, more concerning and impactful. I have so many questions. And I realize every day that we do this show, the pressure that you and I have with topics like this. Because the media in this community, its personnel churns and cycles every 18 to 24 months. So there's no institutional memory. We're becoming the news, if not already become the news. And that's responsibility. What does Belmont do now? The Friends of CVille nonprofit is focused on the downtown mall. The Friends of CVille nonprofit is a group of landlords, real estate owners, small business owners, elected officials, and politicians that are trying to put a brand and plan in place for downtown Charlottesville. Do you need a Friends of Belmont now?
I wouldn't say so.
Does Adam Frazier and Melissa Close-Hart and John Shaughnessy and Corin Capshaw of Mas Tapas and the owners of Southern Crescent, do they now form a nonprofit or a group that tries to create safety in downtown Belmont? Keith Smith suggested an ambassador program for downtown Belmont. He suggested a plan to manage safety perception. Not a bad idea, Keith. How will this impact business in a time that otherwise is slow because credit card bills are due from the holidays? Will we see a drop in business? Will we see a drop in real estate values? Will we see the economy slow? Will UVA parents be hesitant to send their children to Charlottesville for 4 years of learning? All fair questions. How do we get answers to these questions? Who provides the answers to these questions? Why were the vehicles behind the police yellow tape from out of state? You saw on the Reddit thread, Maryland license plate, Texas license plate, New Jersey license plates. Is there a turf war going on in Charlottesville? Do you have these questions?
Not all the same ones you do.
Which ones do you have?
I mean, we've had gangs in Charlottesville for a while. I don't know that that one shooting in Belmont makes a gang war. I think that
Judah. There's been shootings all over Charlottesville.
Yes.
This is not an isolated incident.
I know it's not.
There are shootings all over Charlottesville. And it's been going on for a year at least.
But there have been shootings for a lot longer than a year in Charlottesville. They've just been less visible. Are you jumping to the conclusion that all of this is a big gang war?
I'm a man of common sense and practicality. And my common sense and practicality radar is going off at a very loud clip.
Okay.
And that common sense and practicality says these are related.
Okay.
To say otherwise, I think, is not honest. And my concern is this news is being swept under the rug to maintain image and brand. And I think the newly minted police chief, Michael Kochis, is taking a job that is way more difficult than he ever anticipated.
Okay.
Since he's accepted the job, a city councilor has resigned, Sina McGill. A city attorney has resigned, Lisa Robertson. And a gunfight took place on a chilly Sunday afternoon in broad daylight as church was let out in a neighborhood. I think we'll learn a lot about him in the next 30, 60, 90 days.
No doubt.
As he manages these storylines, this crime, and this narrative. What would you like to see from him?
Obviously, address some of the issues that we've all been dealing with recently, and like you said, make an appearance. Come out and say that we are working on fixing these issues, and to stay tuned. We'll have more info for you on a regular basis.
I want transparency. I want the Tim Longo and Jim Ryan playbook from the murders on grounds. I want vulnerability. I want empathy. I want press conferences. I want straightforward communication. I want frequent updates. I want names, motives. I want to know if the crime is connected. I want to know if my wife is safe. I want to know if my sons are safe. I want to know how we get more police officers on local beats. I want to know his plan of filling the third of the department roughly that's vacant. I want to know how he can take a 10.2 square mile city and rehabilitate it. And for our elected officials, for my friend Lloyd Snook, for my friend Brian Pinkston, for my friend Juan Diego Wade, and my friend Michael Payne. I think it's time that you guys have some direct communication with us as taxpayers, as citizens, and as voters. And explain what you guys are going to do to return a sense of normalcy and sensibility and safety to this community. And it is not just done on the dais on Mondays in city council meetings. Take a page from Jim Ryan's playbook as well. And I'm very curious about this. And here's a very frank conversation. Are the progressive, socialist attitudes, mindsets, mentalities of a small minority in Charlottesville influencing the policy and decision-making of our local government?
How so?
It's no secret that a small minority of socialists in this community are screaming, defund the police.
Are they still screaming that?
Still, to this day.
But we haven't defunded them.
Still to this day. Still to this day.
But do you see that having any effect anywhere?
Yes.
Yes?
I do.
Have we defunded the police?
I
Are
see
we
it
planning
having
on defunding the police?
I see it having an effect and impact on hiring. If you were a police officer, why would you take a job in Charlottesville City, where it's the most expensive jurisdiction in Central Virginia, where you're going to get lambasted by socialist Twitter, where you're not going to be able to afford to live there, and where you're serving the most dangerous aspect of Central Virginia, the city of Charlottesville?
Is Charlottesville really the most dangerous?
What jurisdiction in Central Virginia would you say is more dangerous than Charlottesville City?
I don't know. I'm the wrong person to ask.
It's not Buckingham County. It's not Louisa, Orange, Greene, Nelson, or Albemarle. Where's the crime happening? Where's the crime happening? In the city. They can't afford to live here, the police officers. They can't afford to buy homes here, the police officers. It's the most level of crime here. It's the biggest hate and beef and nastiness they get from any jurisdiction in Central Virginia, Charlottesville City. The pay is equivalent, if not less, than Albemarle County. Why take the job? Elected officials, you know what you can do to fill a third of the department? You could raise the pay. What did Albemarle County and Charlottesville City do to try to get more school bus drivers?
Raise the pay.
They raised the pay. What did Albemarle County and Charlottesville City do to try to get more teachers?
Raise the pay.
They raised the pay. And I'm going to catch some hell for this. Okay? I'm going to catch some hell for this. When you hear Socialist Charlottesville say on social media or in person, take money away from the police department, I want you to look them in the eye, point your finger at them and say, enough already. Enough already. Because that mindset is not working. You cannot fill the vacant seats in this department unless you incentivize people to take these jobs. It's the same reason people are struggling to go into teaching, the same reason people are struggling to go into nursing, the same reason people are struggling to go into school bus driving. Why do it? Why pursue that?
Yeah.
You get crapped on, proverbial. Your quality of life is not great. Your hours stink. You get lambasted. You become a political pawn. You get leveraged constantly for political purposes. Social media has turned you into the
devil.
You said it, not me. There you go. You said it. Why go into that line of work? And if anyone's watching this program does not think that this kind of activity is going to have an impact on quality of life, economic vitality, and real estate values, you're living under a rock. You're living under a rock. I want to get to comments. There's a lot of them. Janice Boyce Trevelyan. We moved here from outside of Baltimore 7 years ago. I shopped downtown Baltimore, took my kids, had dinner there. I stopped going as the crime was on the rise. When we moved here, I was excited to be on the downtown mall and was there at least once a week. I took my grandkids when they visited. I was never frightened. I lunched there. I shopped there. Dinner and drinks. Now being 7 years older, I feel way more vulnerable. With the news from downtown and the surrounding area, I don't go anymore. I miss it. I loved reading a book, grabbing a coffee, meeting my husband for dinner, and the small town feel. It makes me sad. Janice Boyce Trevelyan, city officials should be visible and vocal on this. We have not seen or heard from them. Vanessa Parkhill, the Queen of Earlysville, has this to say. If much of the recent violence where the offenders are using guns is perpetrated by young people, is it fair to say the discipline issues in schools and the supposed lack of consequences are a contributing factor? The new police chief is going to have his hands full. And she says, don't be surprised if criminal element from Richmond looks to expand their enterprise west up I-64. Olivia Branch, the Queen of Keswick. She says, I had a friend visiting over the weekend, and he continued to comment how quiet the downtown mall was a Friday night. Jason Burke in Los Angeles says, get elected officials and city employees on the show and ask them about the police budget and if it needs to be amended. Albert Graves, a.k.a. Warrior AG. The biggest thing the new police chief needs to focus on is transparency with its citizens, his citizens, so we know what really is going on and not the fake picture we get handed a majority of the time. And he says, yes, the Defund the Police movement has had a significant impact on hiring and retention in Charlottesville. He says, who wants a job when you are hated at that job? Anonymous on Twitter via direct message. Jerry, I lived through 1990 New York City. 2,600 murders then. And I lived through the Giuliani time as well. It was not necessarily about the count of officers so much as what you asked them to do. Bratton, which was Giuliani's commissioner, had them doing hardcore stop and frisk. Plus, side guys didn't feel comfortable carrying illegal guns around. They were liable to get nicked. Young men beefing had to go home to get their guns, by which time maybe they cooled off. The stop and frisk stopped violence, but the downside, a lot of young men got stopped for no reason. It's a tough trade-off. Anonymous also says, I suspect that the mayhem here is the product of 50 to 100 people at most. More incarceration will catch these guys. This leads me to the next topic. John Blair, the king of knowledge, asked me this question on Friday, and I didn't have an answer to it. And it's my business to have answers to questions like this. He said, what is the brand of downtown Charlottesville? Go back to the two-shot. What is the brand of downtown Charlottesville? What is the brand of downtown Charlottesville right now? Can you come up with an answer? I couldn't come up with an answer for that. Viewers and listeners, what is the brand for downtown Charlottesville right now?
Is it shopping and dining?
Is it?
I mean, I don't know what else there is.
Is it music? Is it bars? Is it nightlife? Is it live events? Is it the Ting Pavilion? Is it the Code Building? Is it white tablecloth restaurants? Or is it paper napkin restaurants? Is it breweries? Is it taking shots? Is it 10 different live acts of live music every Friday night? Is it empty restaurants? Empty 8 blocks? Is it fear? Is it concern? Is it aggressive panhandling? Is it soup kitchens and nonprofits catering to the homeless? What is the brand of downtown Charlottesville right now? I didn't have an answer to that, and I'm in the branding business, and I own a company called I Love CVille that's based downtown. John Blair, literally racked my mind and my brain for the entire weekend on that very question. And I still don't have an answer to it. I still don't have an answer to it. I don't think it's live music anymore.
I mean, I don't know that that was ever its brand, was it?
10, 15 years ago, I think the brand of downtown Charlottesville was live music. The Jefferson, the Southern, the Pavilion, Paramount, Miller's, Rapture, Whiskey Jar, Escafé, 216, Sky Bar. It was live. Zocalo. It was live music. It was nightlife. It was vibrant. It was hopping. It was a place to meet people. It was a place to go on date nights. It was the spot to hook up. It was the spot to create memories. It was the spot to go from happy hour after work to dinner and drinks late night. Is that the brand now? I sincerely am asking that question.
I mean, when I'm on the downtown mall Thursday nights, there's a fair number of people walking around. It's obviously changing. It's obviously, it's winter. It's cold. I don't know how much. I don't know how much of the music scene is still going on. Obviously, some of that has changed. I would have to look into some of the places that typically hold, music.
Downtown Grill's closed. Prime 109's closed.
Did they ever
Brazier,
have
how do I
music?
say it? Brazier, what is it?
Brasserie Saison.
Can't even say that. That's
I know.
closed. Passiflora, is it open? Is it closed?
No.
Draft Tap Room. Open? Closed?
Did any of those places have music?
Ooey Gooey. Open? Closed?
I thought that closed.
That's my point. Pie Chest. Closing on Pie Day after 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
Court Square Tavern. Open? Closed?
I rarely see it open.
Mono Loco. Moe's. I don't think the brand is dining anymore. I don't think the brand is hooking up live music anymore. I don't think the brand is happy hour into late night anymore. I think the brand is to be determined.
Yeah.
I think the brand is to be determined. And the people who are going to determine the brand are the police chief,
Really?
city council, city manager, whenever a permanent one is hired. I think the brand can be determined by business improvement districts. John Blair lets us know that currently in Richmond, a business improvement and recruitment district is a hot topic of conversation. There's a bill currently in play that may authorize any locality to create a local business improvement district, which consists of fees charged to businesses used to fund improvements, promotions, and other recruitment activities. Maybe downtown needs a business improvement district. I'd happily pay more money to a business improvement district. I would volunteer my time to be on the business improvement district committee. Exactly, Janice. She says, all the things you were talking about with downtown, you can go to the breweries and vineyards now where parking is easier and you'll feel safer and you can listen to live music, get food, and meet other people. There's more competition than ever before for Belmont in downtown Charlottesville. Dairy Market, Fifth Street Station, Stonefield, Barracks, breweries galore, vineyards galore. What is the brand of downtown Charlottesville? This from an anonymous person that routinely comments on the show but asks for anonymity because of fear of retribution. Jerry, downtown Charlottesville's brand used to be fun and entertainment. Now it's social justice. The latter does not put asses in seats. I respect your anonymity, and I appreciate that comment. Pie Chest closing. Did you see the statement? Did you see the announcement?
Yeah, it's personal reasons.
It's because they want better quality of life. They wanted to do other things.
Yeah.
The baking business, and there's a new bakery coming to Crozet. Let me get this news to you. The old Patterson flower shop. I'm looking at an agenda item for the Albemarle County Board of Supervisors right now. The old Patterson flower shop, a sign permit, front runner signs, and Ed Brown looking to do the work. They want to install a post-mounted freestanding sign and a non-illuminated individual letter wall sign. The location is on 3 Notch Road in Crozet. Bakery coming to the old Patterson flower shop location. And speaking of bakeries, the Pie Chest will close on Pie Day. Rachel and Tina have done a hell of a job. They've withstood a Nazi rally, Heather Heyer's murder, COVID and pandemic. They've withstood turmoil in City Hall, a mayor who compared the city of Charlottesville to rape, and semen-stained sheets, literally. 8 years on Pie Day. 45-second walk from this studio. Now, if you want some positive news, and I think, darn it, we need some, Tobias Dengel, the CEO of WillowTree over the weekend, indicated that WillowTree is going to keep hiring and bringing people onto the team in Woolen Mills. We were all concerned and trepid that WillowTree, which did $1 billion deal with a Canadian company, was going to close its Charlottesville headquarters, and we were going to lose a lot of jobs from this area that were high-paying gigs. Well, the reality is that's not the case. They are forming a pipeline with Piedmont, the community college, and they're going to bring in more talent from Piedmont that graduates from this program. You don't get a job without graduating from this 2-year program.
Nice.
And WillowTree is going to expand its workforce in Charlottesville. That's great news. More jobs.
Yeah.
Is it great news for housing affordability? Probably not. Probably not. But it's great news for an economy and more disposable income in the area.
Yeah.
We got some transparency from Tobias Dengel on what he's going to do. That's how you manage a PR conundrum. Get in front of it. And speaking of a PR conundrum, wait till Brennan Armstrong comes to Scott Stadium in 2023 after transferring to NC State, arguably the greatest statistical, not the greatest quarterback, the greatest statistical quarterback in UVA history, will play for another Atlantic Coast Conference team. He's going to come to Scott Stadium this fall. He's going to be playing for his former offensive coordinator, Robert Anai, and he's going to put on a show for 60,000 people. And if you don't think that's a branding and PR conundrum for Tony Elliott and UVA football, then you're living under a rock. What's the brand for UVA football? What's the brand for the downtown mall? What's the brand for Belmont? And one of the most disturbing of all the stories was a 6-year-old shooting his teacher in Newport News. And I did a little research. That teacher, do you have photos of her?
Yeah, I've got a picture.
Please put it on screen. Give me a thumbs up when it's on screen. The 6-year-old shot a teacher. Look at the screen. Look at the screen. Look at the screen. From Ruckersville, educated at James Madison University. Abby
Zwerner?
Zwerner.
Best guess.
S-W-E-R-N-E-R.
ZW.
Z-W. I'm sorry. Z-W-E-R-N-E-R. A 6-year-old shooting a teacher?
Yeah.
What the hell? I don't want to hear anything about school resource officers anymore.
Would they have stopped that, though?
You and I continue to disagree about this topic.
I'm not disagreeing. I asked a question.
People are less likely to commit crime when they see police around.
Okay.
You disagree with that statement?
You're talking about a 6-year-old. Do you think he...
A 6-year-old not going to be influenced by walking by a police officer when he enters a school with a gun? If anything, a 6-year-old's going to be more impressionable and influenced than a 26-year-old.
Okay.
You don't think that 6-year-old's going to be like, I have to get this gun by officer so-and-so. Maybe I shouldn't carry it into the school to shoot my teacher?
Sure, maybe. I mean, it's
not a long shot, and it's not a stretch.
Extremely
Police
logic.
officers on a beat prevent crime from happening. They get to know community and people on the beat, and the perception is they're there to protect.
Yeah. I agree. You're still talking about a 6-year-old.
Want to know something? Neighborhoods that are gated and have their own police force, whether those gates are secure or not, and whether those police forces for those neighborhoods do any kind of policing or not, those neighborhoods don't have much crime.
I'm not sure what that has to do with
It's called perception.
elementary school.
It's called perception. You have to go through a gate to get into a neighborhood, or you have to drive by a neighborhood's police car. You're going to think twice about committing a crime. You have to go into a school and walk by a police officer with a gun. You're going to think twice about committing a crime. And people don't want to admit that. We'll agree to disagree on that. Perception goes a long way in determining human behavior. You go into a neighborhood that has a gate and a guardhouse. You think about whether you're going to commit a crime or not. You go into a school with a police officer at the entrance. You think about whether you're going to commit a crime or not. I want to close with this. What is the Downtown Mall's brand right now? I'm going to close with this. What do you want from Michael Kochis right now, the new police chief? I'm going to close with this. What do you want from City Council right now? I'm going to close with this. What do you want from City Hall right now? I'm going to close with this. You have 3 spots on council up for grabs in November. What do you want from the people you're thinking about elected into office? I'm going to close with this. How do you fix it? How do you fix it? Judah Wickower and Jerry Miller, the I Love CVille Show. Got Maggie coming in, close it down. Come on over.